Thank you for the question. I think when we talk about North Minneapolis, we should talk about it in the context of District 2. District 2 is St. Anthony, Northeast Minneapolis, North Minneapolis, Golden Valley, Medicine Lake, part of Plymouth. And I say that because the next county commissioner to represent District 2 has to represent everybody in the district, not just North Minneapolis. And I also say that because when we think about transit, in the next 30 years, there are going to be two demographic trends that we have to really consider. One is that 40% of Hennepin County will be people of color. The second one is that the seniors population is going to double. And when we think about transit issues, we have to think about how are we going to get folks who live wherever they want to live in Hennepin County down to the services in downtown Minneapolis, and how can we get services out to them as well. And so that's really important for us as folks who are considering policy. That's important for us to consider. And when I think about the two lines that we will be looking at straight in the face, the Southwest Corridor and the Botno Corridor. The Southwest Corridor, the legislature didn't give us the money, the 10% that we needed to start on that. And we have to think about, as a county, whether it's a priority for us to just front up the cost and do that. And I think that's a question that we have to really consider when we take a step back and say, if we really want this light rail, are we willing to pay for it? Are we willing to tax our residents to pay for that? And that's something the county board has to really think about. With regards to the Botno line, D1, Golden Valley voted 3-2 against that. The other option is D2, which is going to cut through North Minneapolis, Penn Avenue. Now, we as a community really need to think hard about whether we want this or not. And I think that's something that we all have to really consider, is that if Golden Valley says no, and it continues to say no, and they are not willing to negotiate, are we as a community willing to allow the Botno line to come through us? And that's something that, as county commissioner, I want to just talk to everybody I can, just so that we can make that commitment to light rail. That's what we want.
I'm committed to aggressive hiring goals for the building of our transit lines. I am adamant that our workforce looks like our community. I don't know if you know a gentleman named Kevin Lindsay. He's the State Commissioner of Human Rights. The state had kind of a standing goal of 11% for projects that were funded with state money. Commissioner Lindsay just upped that for Hennepin and Ramsey to 32%. 32%. That's serious. And we can do it. And it's going to take not only the will of the elected officials, it's going to take the will of the workers, and yes, it's going to take the folks in the compliance office to make sure that it happens. I am adamant that it will happen. We have a great organization here in North Minneapolis called Hire Minnesota. Well, not just North Minneapolis, but Hire Minnesota has been making strides in reducing racial disparities in a lot of work that's done here in our state. They have a strong track record of working to increase the workforce goals at MnDOT. They were miserable goals. And now the Central Corridor, LRT, has a goal of hiring of 16% people of color and 6% women. After 2 years of work so far on that line, the last report I heard was that they were exceeding their goals, as they should. I think the aggressive goals for the LRT lines in our district should be even more aggressive. And I hope you think that as well. As to where the Botno line will go, we are going forward with the line being in the eastern edge of Theodore Wirth Park at this point. There's a lot of work that still has to be done. The Metropolitan Council, the federal government, and all manner of other agencies still have to do a lot of work on there. We'll see whether Golden Valley can at some point learn enough about the project that they feel comfortable in joining the rest of the communities in making sure that we have this amenity for our neighborhoods and our cities.
So, as a county commissioner, when we talk about the goals that the state sets, which are huge improvements, up from 11% to 32%. What will you actually do to ensure that we meet those goals?
The county, if I understand correctly, can set its own goals, but they cannot be less than what the state goals are. And if anybody knows other than that, please tell me. That is kind of how most things go, is that we have a state law and you can be more stringent, but you cannot be less than what the state law is. The county board plays a huge role in hiring and choosing contractors and all those kinds of things. I'm going to be at the table and I'm going to be the loud voice, making sure that the people in our districts who need those jobs get those jobs.
I worked at the City of Minneapolis Civil Rights Department, and although I wasn't in the contract compliance unit, I saw those folks work really hard to keep those aspirational numbers working, and the problem I saw was just simple. They just did not have enough funds to hire enough people to do compliance well. And I think that's the thing that we really need to think about. We can set all these great goals, but at the end of the day, are we going to be able to enforce those goals so that compliance actually works? And what I've seen is just that we are not committed to putting the money where our mouth is. And if we don't do that, then all these goals are just pie-in-the-sky ideas, but they are not going to be reality. And so when we think about that sort of thing, we have to really consider putting our money where our mouth is. And I just have not seen it. At the City of Minneapolis Civil Rights Department, I don't see it. At the state, they're struggling too.
Thank you.